Hey guys, it's Evan Pardue with Underhill Bonsai and Justin Dardine, my assistant and student, and we got the best mustaches in the game as far as my opinion goes. But yeah, today we're going to be working on Buttonwood. So this is just an example of a tree we have at the nursery that's been in development here. So this is just kind of that quintessential collected Yamadori, South Florida tree. And I'm showing you guys this one so you guys can see what it looks like with the leaves all padded out, nice and healthy, and I guess halfway looking decent. This has a little bit further to go, huh?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit as far as the way the crown looks and the way that this is kind of laid out here. It's a little spindly, but I mean, this is what I think 2 or 3 years worth of work on this tree so far, and it just got repotted this year. So we're going to pull in another big Buttonwood and defoliate it and wire it all out and show you guys the process of how that works. And just to bring it up, guys, we had a giveaway contest. So all you had to do was comment, share, subscribe to our channel, and like the video, and you were going to win one of our awesome little tool giveaways that we're doing. And I believe we were doing the set of 3. So branch cutter, wire cutter, bonsai shear. Not these exact tools, obviously, from the video here, but we will send you fresh, brand new ones. And we picked a winner that was from Bonsai 110. We took a random person from the comments. We just kind of pulled from the hat. We decided that Deborah Dale, they had some numbers after that name, but you're the winner. So if you're watching this video, shoot me an email at evan@underhillbonsai.com to claim your award or prize. If we can't get in contact with you, we'll give this like a couple of months, and then we'll just have to redraw. But if you're watching, just contact me that way. So today I will be working through and giving this Buttonwood its first redesign in several years. I'll give you a little bit of background information on this tree. But this is Conocarpus erectus, green buttonwood. And I'll give you a little bit of history, not only on the species and this tree, but also the person that is closely related to these trees. I would say that this is kind of like, compared to how we have bald cypresses here, this is like the bald cypress of Florida. So this is probably the best piece of material, or some of the best material you can obtain in South Florida, all the way up into parts of Texas as well. They do pretty well there, and they can even be seen in some parts of southern parts of Texas, but they're mostly from the Florida Keys and the Caribbean. And you'll see them also down in Puerto Rico and parts of Mexico as well. So Buttonwood is both extremely important to bonsai as far as Southeast history goes, but also it's just a phenomenal piece of material. Seeing it like this kind of shows you why it should be worked. Like everything else, like it kind of starts out kind of awkward looking. So growth habit and the way that it just kind of looks overall, doing work to this and applying bonsai techniques to this piece of material will take it a long, long ways. And we want to do all that work for a very particular reason. So for one, this is the only tropical plant that we can find down in the Caribbean and very close to me in South Louisiana, South Florida area that has deadwood features. This is very, very rare. You usually see these types of things on old collected junipers like Rocky Mountain junipers, California junipers, one seed junipers, etc. Stuff like that people really, really like to use for bonsai, that we want that deadwood look. And so it's said that this is one of the only true Yamadori collected type materials that can be found here in the Southeast United States. And they exclude bald cypress from that sometimes, just because bald cypresses, I'm gonna be honest, sometimes we go out in the swamp, we find a really nice looking tree and we're stumping it. We're cutting it down to a stump, and so we're not really getting the overall tree that we found in nature. You're just kind of reducing it down to the best part of the trunk, the flare, and we're gonna rebuild and carve into that and regrow the top. Whereas with collected Yamadori stuff like this, we have the entire plant, or the majority of it. So when we found this tree, or the person who collected this tree, which I suspect it was Mary Madison that collected this tree, I'll give you a little bit more context as why I think that is in just a moment. But when these trees are collected, this is probably the whole tree when they found it in collection. There might have been a few longer branches and pieces sticking off, but what's most important is the trunk, the way the deadwood is integrated into the trunk, and how we can clean up this live vein and this deadwood here and then put lime sulfur on there. And then you get that like very awesome looking deadwood mixed with live appearance that we normally see on junipers. So do I consider this to be a true Yamadori? Yes. I mean, I've seen really, really big buttonwoods. I've seen really, really small, awesome ones that have deadwood features one way or another. That is very unique to the way this species grows. And so the reason why I mentioned Mary Madison earlier is because this tree was obtained by a gentleman that was basically downsizing his collection of bigger trees, and we obtained it from him about 3 or 4 years ago now. And it was originally worked on by Ed Trout. And for those that know the bonsai world and some of the more old school bonsai world of South Florida, Ed Trout is closer to the Everglades area, Naples or Miami area. I'm not exactly sure where Ed Trout is. If someone knows, and put it in the comments. I'm very well aware of him though, because this is something he typically would like to work on. He would have a big dropping branch, and then his top would have he would have a very classical small crown on top. And so you still have the remnants of that on this tree. So Ed Trout brought this tree over to New Orleans, to the Greater New Orleans Bonsai Society, where he did a demo on it. And then the person that we got this tree from won that in a raffle. And then he couldn't get the tree to do quite what he wanted it to because the health of the tree was a little questionable. The planting angle would never seem to set up right. And speaking of, this is ready to be talked about too. And so it just kind of just languished a little bit in his garden, and it would get healthy and then it would die back and then it would get healthy. And there was a couple of issues that he wasn't addressing with it, that whenever I finally obtained it, I went through and I figured out pretty much what was going on here. And now we have really beautiful, strong growth we can work with. So Mike Lane came in for Say Bonsai 2025 this year, and he saw the tree sitting in the back and he was like, can I take this and do something with it real quick? And I was like, sure. It needs help. And Mike is also a really good South Floridian bonsai artist, is very, very good with buttonwood. So I trust him with that. And I was like, go ahead. So he repotted it, because the tree formerly was like at a really steep, just like almost parallel with the ground angle on it. And I wasn't sure what angle was appropriate for this tree. So he stood it straight up and put it in a deeper pot and freshened up the roots. And Mike told me one of the things that people do with buttonwoods a lot is they don't repot them as often as they should be repotted. And then when I heard that, I was like, that makes sense, because this is a shoreline tree. And when the winds and the storms blow these guys over and they get damaged and they roll around literally in the sand on the beaches where they exist, they have to struggle to survive and regrow. So giving it that repotting and kind of disturbing the roots every other year is what helps it kind of just go into this mode of growing vigorously again. Now, I'm not saying that's optimal for the health of this tree, obviously. We want to do everything we can to keep it healthy, keep it growing, and so we can refine it and we're not setting ourselves back. But whenever you put a buttonwood in a stagnant kind of situation like this, where it's in a container for a long time, there's not really any effects of weather or anything, and then the water and the soil quality becomes a little iffy, because their soil clogs really easy because they get a really dense matted root system, and that will in turn cause them to kind of have some root issues with mealybugs, root aphids, chili thrips. Chili thrips are a unique pest that came in from South Florida that was part of the import trades of I think it was citrus plants or something, or other tropicals that they import a lot of stuff into Florida that brings on diseases, and that's something that happens a lot. So diseases and pests get transmitted, unfortunately, through that trade. And so this chili thrip was something that was also attacking it. And as you can see, these big leaves, they're all very, very fleshy, very happy, dark green. There's a few leaf borer issues here just from being in the summertime here. A little bit of chlorotic stuff because the tree's growing so rapidly that it wants more fertilizer. But for the most part, we have a lot of dark green leaves here with little to no damage at all. The chili thrip damage would look like curled, nasty, browned edges, lots and lots of leaves that look like this. And so when we see this minor redding of the leaves on here, I'm not bothered by this. This is just interior leaves that are getting shaded out and just kind of falling off. So there's very few leaves like that, but if it was chili thrip infestation, you would have like the whole tree would look like that, covered in these brown spots and curled edges, and it would be very ugly. So it was a combination of root aphids, mealybugs, chili thrips, and not being repotted properly. So after we did that over the course of several years of treating it, it got to a point where it was growing decent, but then when Mike repotted it, he repotted it in March. That was another thing that Mike brought up to me. And I'm quoting a lot of the stuff from him because he taught me a lot of the things I know about tropicals that we deal with here. So kudos to him and credit to Mike Lane. But repotting tropicals like buttonwoods earlier in the season as opposed to like repotting everything in the summer like most people do, because that's common practice. Buttonwoods, ficuses, sea hibiscus, stuff like that, like strong tropicals, even like Portucaria afra dwarf jades. He's like, repot all that stuff in the early spring because why repot in the middle of summer and then not give yourself the full extent of recovery? So this was repotted in March. It's early July, like the time of this recording, we're literally in the first week of July. And look at the amount of growth. This had nothing on it whenever he repotted it. So this is, I mean, over a foot of growth here, starting from here and here. So there's plenty of stuff for me to be able to go through. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna defoliate, and I might prune some branches and some shoots off that I don't need, but I'm gonna leave a lot of it on because I wanna leave density and bulk in the branching, and I wanna have pads everywhere on this tree. And I'm gonna honor the old design that Ed Trout probably was trying to envision. So I'm gonna try to do a little bit more of an old school approach. I'm gonna do like pad, little crown piece here. That's not necessary. And then do like that kind of pseudo Ed Trout style where he's got like a little quick back and forth and a little pointed top here. But I'm gonna make it a little broader because nothing against his style at all because it's what he's known for, but I want to give it a little bit more of a broader crown as it matures. And of course, we have to clean up the dead wood here, all this black, sooty kind of mold stuff in here, and algae kind of growing on the trunk and stuff. It just needs to be brushed off. And once you clean up a buttonwood, you can get a really, really nice, just clean look to them. This grayish black all over this can be more like tannish colored, and it has like a scaly look to it. There's a little bit of it here, but when you get that in contrast with a white, stark white deadwood, which I'm gonna do all that cleaning and then we're gonna show a picture of it on screen after because lime sulfur stinks. And doing all that now and then trying to work in this space with the lime sulfur is not gonna be comfortable, so I'm gonna do that after the fact. But anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna start defoliating and give you guys a little bit of back history on Mary Madison really quick. So, oh, by the way, Mike put this wire on here as an anchor to hold the tree up, and it's not necessary. The tree is very stable now, so I can cut off this guide wire, or this guy wire more like. So it is guy, not guide. I should have not said that wrong, but whatever. Guy wire is actually means to grab or to move with some kind of binding, which is really interesting that people have said it a couple of different ways. But yeah, so I can remove that wire. But Mary Madison, she was a very, very well-known bonsai artist and really, really good purveyor of this species. back in like I would say like 80s, 90s, 2000s. She got into bonsai a little bit later in life, but she was one of the first people to ever like really take this species and start working with them and bringing them into the spotlight. And we have done a video in the past on this channel with a buttonwood that we called Zeus. And I feel like just because that video is a little dated now and no one's really looking at it anymore. Oh, by the way, this is flowers on here. For if you guys are like wondering, these little tiny, just ball-like things. They have like super duper small little yellow flower bits on them. I don't know if that's easy to see, and it might be difficult to see. But it's got the most, insignificant looking little whitish yellow flower on these things. And it's kind of like what it reminds me of like a Japanese boxwood. Kind of does that same thing where it's like a little tiny ball-like flower. Just cut them off. They're not really doing anything. It doesn't harm the plant. And it will make a cone, which there's not any cones on here just yet, but they'll turn into a brown cone. But yeah, Mary Madison was working with this species a lot and collecting them, and but then she started doing something really revolutionary with them, was really concentrating on getting specimen quality plants of this species that had just the best quality deadwood features, movement. She started spotlighting this species, and she became basically a legend in South Florida. And she worked all the way up till she was 91 years old, going out, collecting buttonwoods in the Florida Keys. She eventually had to get people come out and assist her, up to the point where when she was struggling with her health at the very end, she was literally in a wheelchair, and they would wheelchair her out onto the sand dunes, and she would point at the trees that she wanted someone to collect for her. That's how determined she was to keep on working and making sure that these trees were part of her legacy, and making sure she got more and more of these trees collected so that people could work with them. And I suspect, this being an Ed Trout tree, they were very good friends, very good acquaintances. And so he worked on several of her trees that she collected. And so if this was something he brought up, I suspect this is probably one of hers. But there are a lot of people that collect buttonwoods now, and because she did it so often and brought it to the spotlight there. But there's a couple of other interesting tidbits about Mary Madison too, is that she was one of the first, and she was the first, she's one of the first bonsai, women bonsai artists to be recognized in the United States. And she was in John Naka's study group, and she was the first woman in John Naka's study group that was considered to be at that level. John Naka considered her to be a bonsai master in her own way with this species, just because of how amazing of trees that she collected and presented to the public. So very important figure. And she's got trees there's one at the National Arboretum that I saw recently. I was very excited to see that tree. I've only seen pictures of it. That tree has a really interesting history where someone purchased it and it was on its way through Virginia or something like that. I can't remember the exact story. You can look it up online, but it was intercepted by customs or like whoever looks into those things. I know I'm probably fudging some details, but basically it was intercepted on its way to be delivered, and then it ended up spending some time in the office in the DC area on the floor, just kind of sitting there and holding, and they wouldn't allow it to like go anywhere. So the person that purchased it was just like, you know what, the Arboretum's right there. The government already has their hands on it. I'm going to donate it to the National Arboretum. So that tree is still there. It's actually a very beautiful tree. It's there. It's got really amazing deadwood quality. So look up on, use your Googler and look up, you can help me with this if you want. Look up Mary Madison Buttonwood National Arboretum, and that tree will pop up. Not a very big tree, but a very beautiful example of like phenomenal line and deadwood features that Mary Madison would have collected. So Justin's going to help me go through and defoliate this tree, and we're gonna have it ready for wiring here in just a moment. So we're gonna time lapse through it, and then I'll give you guys a little bit more information on how we're gonna bend these branches and why we're laying them out this way, and then we'll talk about some other things about buttonwoods. All right, well, I went through and defoliated it. Me and Justin got everything off from top to bottom here, and then I cleaned up the deadwood and the bark a little bit to get some of that black crusty stuff off. So we'll spin it around. Still could use a little bit more cleaning in some areas, but for the most part, you can see the texture is starting to come through nice. You can see the differentiation between live and deadwood here. The veins need to be tightened up a little bit more, and that's as simple as going in, take like a nylon brush like this, and you literally run the nylon brush into the live vein where the deadwood is, and you're gonna scoop that old bark out, and you can really define it. So when you go to paint it with lime sulfur, you get a clean, very clean line between that and the live. So that, like I said, we're gonna do that later after we're done working on it, because I don't want that smell while we're up close and personal with the tree. But yeah, we were discussing when Mike wired this at, say, Bonsai, we were saying that we felt like the front was kind of in here somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Because of the way he placed the branches, and you were saying you felt like the top could come down a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of explain how you were looking at that.
I feel like if you took, because these branches are both like right on top of each other, if you kind of use these to go down and out a little bit, give yourself a little bit more 3-dimension rather than just like straight up and down, you know?
Yeah, and so we're gonna have to do that by basically bending the entire section down.
Yeah.
Right. So you kind of like you want it to go this way towards me a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's what you were thinking.
The whole thing needs to like twist too a little bit. I think like down.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you also had mentioned wire application was a little off because we wish we could bend here, but it's going the opposite direction, so it doesn't hit that space. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's one thing to note, guys, is Mike wired the tree beautifully, but the way that he put it on there, me and Justin want to go the other direction, so there's no wire here to support the bend that we want to do, unfortunately, so that we could come around like that. Because when we come this way, it's going to kind of loosen it slightly, which that's just the way that it mechanically works. So you want to, the rule of thumb is that the direction you want to twist and turn is the way your wire goes.
Right.
So, because we want to go this way, we're not going to be able to get that bend as much as we want. And this is buttonwood, so I have to be very, very careful as I kind of bend that, just kind of feeling it for that cracking.
I wonder if we just took a guy wire and got it down more too.
Okay, so that's a good question, a good point. Yeah, guy wire. How far do you think we need to go?
I mean, should we do that again?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be
right in there.
That would be nice. Yeah, just
anchor it down.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. And Buttonwood's set up really, really nicely from wiring, kind of like how a bald cypress goes. That's why I compared them to bald cypresses as well. So we're going to guy wire this real quick down to kind of close that gap, because the finished height, that's not good for finished height. Or like we say in the story is what we say something a lot around here, would be here appropriately.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, we don't want to keep going and going, because then we'll lose track of our line and where the tree needs to end. So we're going to go ahead and take care of that real quick. Okay, so we got our best point of leverage at the top here, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring it down. You kind of push it to where you think it needs to go. Probably go on the other side of that so I can catch it.
I wonder if we move that further forward, if it would be better. I think if we did it from here.
Okay, you want to go up higher?
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's better.
So let me know when you feel like it's there.
I think that was good.
Okay.
Like
and
that.
Normally whenever I do this, I go a little bit more because it's gonna pop back up.
Yeah.
So kind of hold that. And let's move to the side so the camera can see a little bit better what you're doing. Okay, there we go. How's that?
I think that's good. Do you want to spin this?
Yep. Let's see, I'll cut that off. You can see there's a guy wire. It's kind of hard to see from some perspectives, but Mike guy wired the same exact way to like a branch back here to tuck this in, and this actually probably could come in a little bit more. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
Let's see from that supposed front. It does follow the line very nicely.
Yeah.
So you think we should leave it?
I think leave that one.
Yeah, because normally when I look at a tree that's been guy wired like the way that Mike's done it here, I always question like, did they go far enough that they were trying to go? Because sometimes people or bonsai artists will go in and put a piece of wire on something and move it, and then they'll listen for that crack, and they'll say, okay, let's ease off and try to wire again a little bit later. And I was just checking to see if Mike intended to go a little bit further, but I think he did it pretty good here with the line.
No, I think it follows that really well.
Yep, so let's keep that. All right, and it's as simple as taking the end there and just tightening it again. And so when we put a guy wire on, that one needs actually a little bit more. We always put it at the point where we're pulling so that in the future, if we want to adjust and do more, we can literally go back and just pull from that point again. Instead of having it in like the twist somewhere random, from the top is the worst place to put it because you're fighting, because you're going to be pushing down and trying to twist.
Yeah, right.
And you'll more than likely break the branch on accident. It's happened to me before, so lesson hard learned. Let's see. And with my guy wiring, I like to do a little bit of like a cleanup, especially since it's in the top. So it sometimes will move the branch a little bit more, but I'll take a thicker gauge wire and put it in there like a little crank, and then just kind of clean that up so it's thinner and not so weird looking there. It's just an aesthetic thing. It doesn't really do a whole lot more than just clean that up.
Do you want to do that to this one too, since we're here? That way they both look the same? Because that's going to bother me.
That's going to bother you? Let's just do that real quick. Yeah, it makes them look a little more finer point. The only thing that is like, once you know the angle and that's how you want to go with it, it's harder to adjust that and you know, close up that space again. But since we're making this tree more presentable, that's not a bad idea. Cool. So that kind of puts the branches like right where we want them. So I think this guy moves into this space. This guy will kind of be here. So we're going to prune back a couple of these sections for internode spacing. You have your shears. So we're going to cut back to 2, like right here. Like this comes out. Buttonwood's just the way they grow. Very nice alternating. So I'm going to cut back just to 2 here, just to get it so it's like that. So we're going to go up the tree and kind of work through that as so you can get the top here if you want. And I might go ahead and just cut some of the length off of here too. Stuff that I know, like further up in the tree, I'm not going to keep a crazy amount of length on everything here because it's just not necessary. And then little pieces like this sticking out of little nooks and crannies, because buttonwoods can back bud really nicely. I'm going to keep it here so I can build like little individual crowns in places. And then that I'll keep there. Yeah, that can be shortened a little bit. That can be ginned a little bit more. And I'm going to leave this guy long so when I wire it out, it'll be nice. Take those off. Let's see if that'll literally crack there. Pull that. And then this here, let's bring it back to at least there, huh?
Right.
And I think that's good for wiring. What about this? I feel like we're going to be able to use that.
I was going to ask you. It kind of comes right back into everything.
Yeah.
Just get rid of it.
If there's a branch, like we'll show that. Sorry, I almost hit you. See how this kind of comes out the bottom here? So if it's going that way and then we put wire on it, see? Yeah, see? It's not only going to be, it's not going to be easy to put in position we want it, but it's also going to always have that like
weird
bend in it.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to always look like
reach behind you kind of thing.
Yeah, and there's a couple of pieces of wire on here that I'm going to go ahead and take off that are biting in, but I'm going to leave everything else that hasn't bitten in because that means that the angle is not completely set. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then Justin, you can start working wire onto whatever other pieces need it. And here's, okay. So since I'm confident that this is definitely cut in and this is at the angle that I want it, I'm gonna remove it. I'm also free to like rewire this here. I know it doesn't sound exciting to a lot of people who you first get into bonsai and you're like, all right, I have to learn how to wire a tree. And then it takes you hours to get it right, to dial in the way that you wire. And then someone tells you that once you wire and it starts biting in, you got to take it off and then you got to do it again. I mean, that's the case for every single great bonsai out there that's been worked on for decades. I mean, they've been rewired almost every single year, maybe even like two to three times a year. I've got cypress trees in my collection that I've done that too. So it's just part of the process as we keep wiring and refining the structure. And that's why we defoliated this tree, because it's very healthy. And I would like to be able to see the branch structure like a deciduous tree. And then next month, it's so hot, it's gonna be like 100 degrees. This tree will pop back out with new growth again. So it's not like we're gonna lose any vigor in this tree by doing this. So, cool. So we only got a little bit of wire to throw in here. So we'll do that real quick while I kind of give y'all some other tidbits about buttonwoods and collecting. So I think I was covering this a little bit earlier in the video, mentioning about their growth habits and stuff and how they grow. And because of where they exist, the really challenging, like right on the edge of the Caribbean and the Florida Keys, where hurricanes hit them very often, that's where we get this deadwood kind of feature look to them, where they'll literally get hit by hurricane force winds, and then they'll fall over and break and regrow, and they'll actually tumble. I've got one in my personal collection I got from Mary Madison, like right before, you know, she passed away back in 2018. I went to her house and we actually purchased a good handful of buttonwood from her. And we have a few of them here at the nursery still. We've sold a few, but I've held on to about 5 of them. And I could see all the really insane deadwood quality in these trees. And one in particular really stood out to me. It was this little knot. If you go to underhillbonsai.com and you go to our gallery section, I have it on there. I've displayed it a few times, and I have it at my home. I can't just go grab it outside, or I would. But that tree, if you look at it really close, it has a big giant knot of deadwood where you can see that it like fell over in the sand several times and rolled around, like literally got uprooted and then turned into another iteration of that twisted deadwood. And that's something that's very, very rare. A lot of plants don't do that. And I'm pretty sure that I heard this from a reliable source, that these trees are also in the mangrove family. So they have that suckering like nature where if they fall over and root, they can reroot just like a giant cutting over and over again. And mangroves kind of have that sprawling kind of growth habit like these guys do, where wherever they happen to land, they just kind of open back up and they start growing out again, and they'll create big giant canopies. Turn this aside a little bit. And so, yeah, we'll get this bush tree over and over again, but in the core of that bush, you'll have like these big twisted old deadwood element trees in there that can be cut back. So this tree could have been a slither of a branch piece that was on a bigger tree that fell off during a storm event or something like that. It could have been its own tree, like I said. Like it could have been just one big piece off of an older tree that became its own thing over time. I mean, there's so many different equations here for these trees to split into multiple sections. So I think I actually want this here. And it's really, really easy to go in and wire out, and defoliate these and wire them out, because the green on here, you see I'm using like a 2.5 to wire these branches, and they're super duper flexible and fresh. And wiring the older growth on buttonwoods, like the browner kind of colors you see on my, like around my fingers here, they're just really challenging to wire and bend because they're super brittle. So the only thing that we can do with buttonwoods most of the time is to take advantage of that like getting damaged, regrowing kind of growth habit, and cut them back to a good line on the dead wood and live vein, and just grow fresh green branches that can be wired like this. And I will cite Eric Weigert and his work with the species as well. You'll see that is a very common thing that he does. He takes a tree down to its simplest form and then wires it out. So, bless you. So, taking inspiration from South Florian bonsai people, I mean, I'm just a Louisiana guy over here, learning how to work with these trees, but I've been working with them for probably the past 7 or so years now, and I've gotten more of a confident footing on how to keep them happy and how to style them too. But I think there's a lot of debate on how they should be styled as well, because it's a shoreline, like a beach tree. You see me struggling with angle here. There we go. With wire placement angle, I was going to cross wires on accident. But yeah, it's a shoreline tree or a beach tree. So it's like, what is the natural style of this tree? You know, have you ever seen a buttonwood in the wild, Justin?
Nope.
So it's like, what do we do with this? So it's a challenge to go in, and there are a lot of people out there that have seen buttonwoods in nature and how they grow, and I imagine it not being like the most attractive thing in the world because it is like a struggling plant in its environment, so it probably just looks like a giant plume of just green leaves. And so we have to kind of use a little bit of our, artistic freedoms.
Yep.
To kind of go in and make changes to the trees. Or artistic liberty. Just kind of make it like a more idealized version of that. So instead, we're going to frame in the dead wood and make it, more pleasing to look at, refine the lines of the tree, and good stuff like that. Pad out these branches, get them nice and flat and out of each other's way, and kind of just set up the flow of the rest of the tree. And if you ever want to work on your wiring skills, this is definitely one of the trees that do it. So if you can have buttonwood in your range, I would highly suggest you get one. It's like a bald cypress. If you have access to that, aka our website, underhillbonsaistore.com, get a bald cypress when they're available in the fall. That's a great tree to wire as well and practice wiring on. But the buttonwood is kind of second to none to the bald cypress, in my opinion. Even though you can wire and manipulate older growth on cypresses a lot easier, these guys are just as awesome to go through and design, in my opinion. Let's see. And just because I failed to mention it earlier, I'll go ahead and mention that this is a tropical plant. And so it's going to be on the very, very tender side of tropicals. So it's not something like a ficus where you can just throw it in your windowsill of your home during the wintertime and just it survive inside with a little bit of that sunlight and heat from just being in your home. This particular species is really, really going to benefit from a greenhouse. So anytime the temperatures drop below 50 degrees, some species, some tropicals are a little bit hardier when it comes to like 40 degrees, but this is like a 50 degree and higher tree. I mean, at 50 degrees, it starts visibly struggling and will drop leaves and kind of give you a fit. There we go. We have 3 wire.
They're just flat everywhere.
3 wire pruning tools, wire cutters. There we go. Just forgot the word for a second there. We had 3 wire cutters sitting on the soil surface of this tree as we wire it, and it's just like trading off which one we're going to use. But yeah, you want to really, really keep an eye on temperature with these
I
guys.
never cut this wire that was biting it out. You want to do that real quick?
Yeah, you can take it off real quick. Just that small section. Just leave as much as you can. Let's see. Oop, no anchor. It's okay. We'll just kind of let it be. All right, while you're doing that, let me catch this up here. But if the temperatures are above 50 and it's super duper hot, then these guys are kicking ass. They love hot, punishing environments that we wouldn't enjoy as human beings. We like the beach. We like to go to the beach when it's like sub 80s. And we're like hanging out, and then when it's 100 degrees, these guys are out there enjoying the beach when we're away. Let's just say it that way. Let's see, get this, yeah. But they are totally doable because, like I said, there is one at the National Arboretum in DC, and it's a lot cooler there than it is here. And that tree looked amazing. So they definitely have a good greenhouse set up for that tree. And that's going to be key, in my opinion. That and just making sure that they're treating for pests and diseases and stuff like that. See this green growth, even though this angle is not really all that nice here coming up, I can still bend that down right where I need it. It's very, very flexible. It's like wiring out a piece of like vegetable, like a piece of celery. It feels kind of weird. It's got this kind of weird feeling, waxy kind of vegetable feeling to it. But it is very, very fun to just go in and be able to fully manipulate it really easily. What's the vegetable I'm thinking of? Do you know what I'm talking about? It kind of feels weird. It looks like is it celery I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
Green onion? Green onion is probably.
I don't know. They're not hollow in the middle, though.
They're not, but they have a very vegetable. No, asparagus is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It reminds me of wiring a vegetable.
Though, I guess.
Like a root vegetable. Not a root vegetable. Root vegetables are. I don't know. I'm trying to make a comparison and I'm just losing it here. Yeah. So, cool. So you're getting the. Oh, let me get you the last couple of pieces up there. All right. I'm going to leave that. Even though it's biting a little bit up here, I'm not too worried about it. So don't worry about taking that off. Yeah, and you mentioned the other tree that I had styled and did up. Mm-hmm. That's actually that was Zeus. So if you guys go back and look at one of our earlier videos where I styled a Buttonwood with Nate Murray, that's the tree that you were referring to earlier, Justin.
Yeah.
And that tree is currently at my house right now because I'm kind of monitoring and watching it as it buds back out, and it's actually doing really, really well. So when you mentioned that, I was like, oh, well, we have that other Buttonwood that could have a very similar styling and kind of look to it. So let's do that one today. So that's where this kind of came from. Just working on this, and this tree is turning out a lot better than I thought. It's a very, very awesome tree. I mean, I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't know that it was like grown out this much. It's
never doubted myself for a minute.
Yep, exactly. Well, I mean, I'm literally just over here just waiting to see what the trees are going to do, you know? And I didn't expect it to get this far this season, so boom, here we are. We're also, we mentioned this earlier, before we started shooting. I was like, you know what, we should also go visit that Trident maple we did last month, so that people will immediately kind of have like a follow-up. They'll be like, oh, wow, he killed that tree.
Yeah, that's budding like crazy. Yeah.
Yep, we're gonna go visit that tree in a second there at the recap of this video. And so you guys can believe me that I know what I'm doing over here. Oh, all he does is just repot trees and put wire on them, and then he moves on to the next piece. Now, all my trees are living. All right, so Justin gets the last piece of wire on there. I'm kind of preemptively just kind of placing stuff just because I can see where stuff's gonna be laid out, but what I'm gonna do is after we wire everything, I'm gonna go back and step back and look at the tree and then make some minor adjustments to wire placement, branch placement more like. I say wire placement because we're moving the wire, not the branch. Careful, we're splitting there. Okay. Okay. So that's, yeah, you were kind of going the right direction with it. You can just achieve that by bending the end of it. Okay, so that's nice, huh? It's pretty good. This top piece coming down there. And so one of the things that I do is I make sure that whenever we see the spacing here, that we don't have any other branches. Like in here, we're starting to get a little too close. So these two branches here, I need to move those to make them on their own plane so that one day they won't like come together and kind of touch. So like this needs to drop down into here a little bit more. And then this can have plenty of room to extend out. And so using the camera to kind of give me like a 2D perspective. And then that branch in the middle there is just kind of coming out towards the viewer's front. So maybe, yeah, so let's take the wire off and kind of the tools and stuff. Let me see something. Is it because we don't have the necessarily the front?
I mean, I do feel like this one can kind of twist out more, so this pad's here.
You think so?
I mean,
it kind of puts it right in the middle of the line. You want to take a peek? Because the line is here, right? So that's kind of where the front is up in here. You see it? So I like this is just kind of gone. When it has green on it, when it buds back and it's got leaves, it feels a little awkward, that's all.
Yeah, I think if we make it a little just more front, like, I don't know.
So you want to put it towards the viewer a little bit more?
Just a little bit. That was goofy.
So you want to go back in? Okay. Yeah, kind of let it join this pad a little bit, but have a little bit of a breakup. And then, since there's a piece of deadwood here, we can use this to kind of highlight that area. But the flow is definitely back towards me. And like I said, I want to do a broad crown. If we were to keep this very Ed Trout kind of style, this would be taller, and then the peaks of this would be like straight down like that. So I like to do a little bit more of a flowy look because I know it's a shoreline, kind of like, I call it like a wind influenced, well not wind swept, but wind influenced. And so since this will match like the direction of that lower branch there. Cool. All right. So yeah, just like I said, like it needs to be lime sulfured so you can see all this deadwood stuff nicely. And then just need to remember that this is the front and so on and so forth. In fact, I can cut that. Give me one of the wire cutters. Thank you. I can actually cut this off when I go to lime sulfur this, because that's pretty set up there. I feel confident about that. Cool. Yep, so I just have a little bit more cleaning to do. But okay, so this point on, like I'm just gonna put it back into the sun and let it do its thing, and it's gonna, like wherever you see the green, all these node spaces are just gonna be leaves again. And then we're gonna have that look where the leaves come up, kind of like we saw in the other Buttonwood, where it's just like everything's just stacked on here very beautifully. So we can get those smaller, just little pad leaves on there, and try to keep our best to keep our spacing between here. So we have these breaks, and so we just draw the viewer's eye up. And the last thing, I don't think this is worth it. It's just kind of, you always keep little things on there like that, just in case, you know, little things like that can help elevate a design. Speaking of which, segue, Little Things for Bonsai People is my podcast show. You can check us out on most listening platforms like Spotify, YouTube, or Google. You can just Google it and find the rss.com code. But I use Spotify a lot, so that's kind of, I've heard it's on Google podcast stuff, so go check that out. But anyway, so I need to go in and, clean it up. So I think we did pretty good, huh? Mm-hmm. How do you feel?
It's good.
Yeah, looks pretty decent. Just got to find a good pot for it one day. I think that's going to be more like a pretty robust, big pot. So cool. All right, we're going to go visit that Acer Bulgarium, the Trident Maple we did last month, and see how it's doing. So this is the Trident Maple that we did on the previous video that just came out right before this one, just so you guys can see how fast Trident Maples respond in Southeast Louisiana. We have red leaves. These are just fresh new growth on every single branch that me and Justin left behind on the previous one. And that means that the roots are currently doing their thing down below. So we even got back budding on old sections that I cut off as well. So lots of really promising things on this tree. So expect to see this in future videos, this big Trident Maple. So just a little check-in.